Hi folks, FPL General here recording a new episode of my 59th minute FPL podcast, recording on Tuesday the 31st of December, the last day of the decade, looking ahead to Gameweek 21. So it's been a while since I recorded. I think the last episode was before blank Gameweek 18, so just a quick review of how things have gone for me since then. So I had a very good Game Week 19, got myself 76 points. That saw me go from 200k up to 91k, so I was sitting pretty at 91k. Then activated the wildcard in Game Week 20, which was always the plan. And as most people have done so this season, once you play your wildcard, you get a nice big fat red arrow. So managed just 50 points in that car crash of a Game Week 20, so went from 91k, dropped back down to 140k, so still pretty happy with that. If you offered me at the start of the season to be at 140k at the turn of the year, I would have taken that all day long. So looking forward to the second half of the season now. I'm actually looking forward to the schedule going back to normal. It's been a bit of an overload of football and FPL. It's great having games on the TV almost every day, but it is a bit of an overload in terms of FPL with all the rotation. It's a very tricky period. I think you just got to try and weather the storm. And then once things go back to normal, hopefully the green arrows will return then. So just to touch on the wildcard squad, I made very few changes. It's been a pretty odd season for me in terms of the wildcard. I felt like I could have survived without it. So the only changes I made, I think I made 5 in total. The Pope went for Matt Ryan, and I got Button in as well as a sub-keeper. The idea there being if Matt Ryan picks up an injury or a suspension, I don't have to make a goalkeeper transfer there because I can just use Button. Tomori left for Soyuncu. Not having Leicester defenders first half of the season hurt me quite a bit. So I like having Soyuncu now. Next 4 or 5 fixtures are pretty good. What else did I change? I got rid of Abraham and I brought in Rashford. So that one worked out. First game week, Rashford outscored Tammy. Pretty fortunate to get that late goal and 3 bonus points for Rashford. That was it really. Romeu came in as just a 4.3 million budget third bench player. Apart from that, everyone remained the same. So the current setup going into Game Week 21, Ryan in goal, back 3 of Alexander-Arnold, Soyuncu and Martin Kelly. Midfield, Salah, Ali, De Bruyne and Grealish, and then a front 3 of Rashford, Jimenez and Vardy, who's most likely going to be my captain this week. Bench then is Button, Rico, Lundstrom and Romeu. So that's how I'm set up for the second half of the season. So yeah, it was an odd one with a wild card. As I said, I probably could have survived without it. Second wild card, the fact that I've played my first one very late, I'm probably going to keep the second one probably to play around Game Week 30 for those double game weeks around that time. So I was keeping an eye over the Christmas period as well. I haven't been able to watch a lot of games. I've been in my mother's house. I'm sitting in her kitchen recording this podcast. I've got the microphone propped up on an empty box of Quality Street. All I've done back at home is eat. So I'm looking forward to getting back and getting on a health kick in January. So yeah, hopefully the sound quality is okay on this one because I'm not recording in my usual location. So yeah, I've been keeping an eye on the minutes as well. There's been, as far as I know, there's been no new members joining the 59th minute club. There was quite a lot of 58 minute appearances. Had a couple of people sending me tweets. I think Tomori, Jeff Hendrick, Callum Robinson. There was quite a few close to it, but I don't think there's been any new members to the club since the last podcast. Going to touch on the watch list now. Just going to touch on players I've added over the festive period. So the first one, a couple of defenders here. Joe Gomez at Liverpool, 5.1 million. I don't think it's any coincidence that since he's come back into the team, they've picked up 4 clean sheets. He's got bonus points in 2 of those 4 games as well. He's been excellent in the games I've seen him, and in the highlights I've watched of Liverpool. Gomez has been excellent in the last couple of weeks, so I think he's a really good option now at 5.1 million. Lots of questions coming in about double game week 24. Do we go double defence? Do we go double attack? If Gomez can keep his place, which I think he can, there's no sign of Matip or Lovren coming back anytime soon, and I think Gomez has played well enough anyway that even when those guys are fit, that he could keep his place alongside Van Dijk. That has been a very good partnership the last couple of weeks. So Gomez definitely of interest to me now. He's on the watch list at 5.1, a budget route into that Liverpool defence. Another defender, Mason Holgate, 4.4 million. Looking back on his minutes, the last 11 games, he's played 90 minutes in all of them. So he has become a regular at Everton, and I was interested to see would he keep that place under Ancelotti, and he has done. He's having a very good season. 4.4 million, again, very nice price into that Everton defence. Everton do have Man City next, but after that they've got a nice run of fixtures. So again, if anyone's looking for a cheap defender, I think Holgate is a good option there. Couple of midfielders now. Anthony Marcial, who I was very close to getting on my wildcard squad. I went for Rashford instead. I just felt I trusted Rashford more so. But having watched that Burnley Manchester United game, I feel that Martial might actually be the better, FPL asset from Manchester United. Now he's cheaper, he's a midfielder, and he looked a lot more threatening in that game as well. He probably could have had more than one goal in that fixture. So the double up, I kind of said going into my wild card I didn't fancy the double up, but it's something I may do. So may look to in the near future. I may look to get Martial in, even though I have Rashford in there. So 3 goals in his last 2 games. As I mentioned, he looked great against Burnley. I've got Dele Alli in my midfield, and a lot of people are shipping Dele Alli, which I feel it's justified because I think it is 3 blanks in the last 4. I didn't catch the last Spurs game. I did see the highlights, and Ali looked pretty threatening in that game, so that was enough for me. I'm going to give him the Southampton fixture to save himself. If Ali blanks against Southampton, there's a very good chance that I will move him on for Martial then for game week 22, because Martial basically offers the same thing. He may offer even more than Dele Alli, and he's about $1 million cheaper. So I think that's going to be a very popular move this week. Ali to Martial, or if not this week, then next week. And it's definitely something that's in the back of my mind. Sigurdsson, the forgotten FPL legend of the last decade, 7.3 million. Got an assist against Newcastle. I think that's only his 2nd assist of the season. Could be rejuvenated under Ancelotti, as quite a few of these Everton players could. Sigurdsson's got penalties as well, which is always a bonus. He's only 2.6% ownership, so I think Sigurdsson could be the ultimate differential for the next couple of weeks. Maybe not for this Man City game, but thereafter. So he's on my watch list for the first time in quite a while, Sigurdsson. So again, maybe if I'm looking for an Ali replacement, if he disappoints me, Jack Grealish is probably going to leave my team soon as well. Going to give Grealish the Burnley fixture and probably lose him before Villa play Man City. So again, Grealish to Sigurdsson would be an option for me there. So yeah, Sigurdsson is one I'm going to keep an eye on. I'll watch him closely against Man City to see how he looks. Watford are throwing up quite a few options now. Bit of a manager bounce going on there. How long will it last? I'm not sure. I'm not going to rush in to get their assets, because at the end of the day, it's still Watford. They're not the most exciting FPL team. But this guy Sarr in midfield, he's caught the eye. 2 goals and an assist in the last 3 games, 6.2 million. Looking at some of the stats from game week 21, game week 20 from Fantasy Football Hub, Sarr had 5 shots in the box against Aston Villa. Now, 5 shots in the box is great. Shots in the box is a stat I always look to for FPL assets, but the caveat is, it was Aston Villa, and they've been pretty poor recently. I would fancy myself to get a couple of shots in the box if I was playing an attack against Villa at the moment. So Sarr, 6.2 million, it is a punt, but again, would be a nice differential for the next couple of weeks as well. So again, like Sigurdsson, Sarr is a player I'm just going to keep an eye on for the next game or two, and then see if they're worth a punt or not. Another Everton player I've added to the watch list is CalvertLewin, 5.8 million. He's getting hard to ignore now. 3 goals in his last 2. Ancelotti's been talking him up. I think he's even said that he was keeping tabs on him when he was the Napoli manager. So Ancelotti obviously has a lot of faith in this guy, more faith in him than I do. And it's I think Calvert-Lewin's one of those players where, I've probably got a bias from previous seasons that I don't really rate him as an FPL option, but I think that's something I might need to change my thinking on that, because he has looked really good in recent weeks, and it's his price. He's just so cheap. Again, looking at the stats, good underlying stats for the last couple of weeks for Calvert-Lewin in terms of goal attempts and chances created. So he's a bit like Jimenez. He's doing both. When it comes to that price bracket, though, 5.8 million, around that 6 million mark, I still think I prefer Neill Mellor at Brighton. Been very impressed with him this season, and I think I would have more faith in him, as a long-term pick. But again, Calvert-Lewin, I'm starting to come around to the idea that maybe he could be a good option for that third striker spot. But again, I'm pretty happy. I've got Rashford, Vardy and Jimenez up front, and I don't see myself changing any of those guys for the next couple of weeks at least. So I'm not looking for a cheap striker at the minute, but definitely Calvert-Lewin, one to keep an eye on. Moving on now to questions from Twitter. Thanks to everyone who sent them in. I've picked out some of the best ones here that cover the the main talking points this week. First one is from Aditya Sen. Should managers keep the faith in Jack Grealish considering Villa's poor form? So I mentioned it already. I've got him. He's been great last couple of weeks, but Villa are just really, really poor, and I don't really feel great about owning one of their assets at the moment. So Grealish, for me, I want to bank my transfer this week, so that's the only reason I'm not getting rid of him. So I'm going to give him the Burnley fixture away, and hopefully he can get me something there. And even if he does do something in that game, there's a good chance I'll probably let him go then ahead of the Man City fixture. I think there's just better options, at cheaper prices as well. Traore is the first one that comes to mind. You can free up £1 million by going from Grealish to Traore, and you might even have yourself a better long-term asset there anyway. So I like that move. So I'm going to give Grealish one more game because I want to bank a transfer, but I think selling them this week is absolutely fine as well, given how poor Villa have been. Question from FPL DC. This is the $1 million question. Double Liverpool attack, Salah and Mane, or double Liverpool defence, Trent and Robbo for double game week 24? So I actually put a poll on Twitter yesterday about this. 3 options. I put 3 options: double attack, double defence, or undecided. I probably should have added triple defence in that as well, in hindsight. But the poll, there was about 10,000 votes. The double up, the attack and double up, Salah Mane got 40%, so that came out on top. The double defence got 31%, and the undecided got 29%. So I'm one of those in the 29% of being undecided what I'm going to do in terms of triple Liverpool for the double game week. On my wildcard, I left that third Liverpool spot open because I wasn't sure whether I wanted to go with another defender or whether I'd want to try and shoehorn Mane in, before that double game week. So I've got Salah and I've got Trent, and I really don't know who's going to be my third. It could be Mane. It could be any of the defenders. It could be Gomez if he keeps his place. It could be Robertson, who I had earlier in the season. I like Van Dijk as well for that double game week because I think with fullbacks you've always got that slight worry that Klopp will rotate them. But where if you get Van Dijk, you're going to get 180 minutes from him. So that's a big attraction there for me. So I may lean towards Van Dijk rather than Robertson if I do go the double defensive route. But again, I think there's a question coming up on Mane, so I'm going to come back to it in terms of why did I go back to Salah instead of Mane on the wildcard. So I'll come back to that one. But for me at the moment, I'm undecided. I think most likely I'll probably lean towards double defence just because it's easier to do so. There's a lot of chopping and changing I would need to do to squeeze Mane in there alongside Salah. Question from Nikhil. And Nikhil asks, is Fabianski a cheeky differential goalkeeper for the upcoming weeks, including the double game week, given that he has decent fixtures leading up to game week 24? So, yeah, a lot of people are talking about Fabianski this week because he's back now, and obviously you get the extra game out of him because he has that double game week, and the fixtures are okay. Before that, I'm just getting them up here in front of me. West Ham have Bournemouth, Sheffield United, Everton, and then it's the double of Leicester and Liverpool. So the double game week is not great, but they do have decent fixtures before then. So I think I've seen people talking about maybe who still have Nick Pope, who's got a tricky run of games, maybe making the move from Nick Pope to Fabianski this week. It's probably a good time to do so. So I do like that move. In terms of West Ham players for the double game week, I would say I'll probably own 0. There's very few that interest me. Fabianski is probably the only one. I've seen a few people talk about Antonio, but he's one of those players on my injury-prone list that I'm not going to touch this season. Again, we can assess them over the next 3 games and see if anyone emerges who we can take a punt on for the double game week. But again, fixtures, it's Leicester and Liverpool. I'm really not expecting much from West Ham in those fixtures. Definitely not their attackers. Playing against 2 of the best defences in the league. So I'm not too bothered by West Ham. But yeah, I think Fabianski could be a good option, not just for the double game week, but for the rest of the season. He's a proven FPL goalkeeper. He'll make saves. He's good at saving penalties as well. And there should be a bit of a bounce under David Moyes. Well, I say there should be. If I was a West Ham fan, I would be absolutely distraught that he's come in. So maybe they'll just continue to be pretty poor. I think there's just as much likelihood of that happening as there is of being a manager bounce. But again, yeah, Fabianski, I think he's a fine pick. But apart from him, I've got no interest in the Hammers. Question from Abhishek. Tammy Abraham, keep or sell? So I sold him on the wild card. It was probably the last decision I had to make on the wild card. I was quite tempted to keep Tammy Abraham because I liked his fixtures. So he got his goal against Arsenal, and he's got Brighton, Burnley and Newcastle next before playing Arsenal again. So I think those fixtures are pretty good for Chelsea attackers. I think Tammy is probably the only Chelsea attacker worth having at the minute. So I think if I had him after he scored against Arsenal, I think I would probably give him the next 3 games. I would give him Brighton, Burnley and Newcastle. So I still think he's a very good option. So yeah, I've sold him. I'm not going to go and get him back in because I'm happy with my 3 strikers. But I think I would keep him. I like the Brighton fixture for Tammy this weekend. And I like the next 3 fixtures and even the Arsenal one thereafter. So I think I would be in the keep Tammy boat. Question from FPL Pat. This is the one about Mane. Yeah, good question here. Can you explain why you've gone back to Salah from Mane on your wildcard? So it wasn't exactly a wildcard move. I had gone from Mane to Son a couple of weeks ago before the blank game week, and the plan then was, I was going to be able to choose then between Salah and Mane on my wildcard. And if I'm completely honest about this, a part of me regrets getting Salah over Mane, and being honest about it, I think I was probably influenced by the crowd on this one. Being in WhatsApp groups and Twitter group chats and stuff like that, and just the hive mind on Twitter and Slack and everything else. I kind of said all season that Mane was the one I like most when I watch Liverpool. He's the one who passes the eye test more so than Salah for me. And when it came to my wild card, I kind of put Salah in without giving it too much thought. I think that might be an issue. I had very little time on the wild card because the deadline ended on the game week finished on Friday, and I had to finalise my wild card by the Saturday morning, so I didn't have much time to think about it. And I think if I had more time, in hindsight, there's maybe more chance I would have went for Mane over Salah. Why did I go for Salah? I think Salah did look really good those maybe 2 or 3 game weeks before I wild carded. I think penalties was in the back of my mind as well, and maybe I weighed too much on penalties. It was very frustrating. I was out for dinner on, what day was it? Sunday, I think, that the Liverpool Wolves game was on. I was out for dinner with my wife, and as I usually do, I was watching the TV over her shoulder. She was kind of half watching the game as well. But it was very frustrating to watch that game, having Salah captain and having got rid of Mane a couple of weeks ago. But again, it is only 1 game week, so I'm feeling downbeat about going for Salah over Mane. But again, that can change very quickly. Salah could outscore him. Next 2 or 3 game weeks, and I'll be feeling good about the move then. But initially, part of me does regret going back to Salah when I've liked Mane for most of the season. So maybe that'll influence me to try and maybe shoehorn Mane in for the double game week. I think I'll use my triple captain in that double game week on a Liverpool player, and I think I would feel more comfortable giving it to Mane than I would giving it to Salah, just based on what I've seen this season. But again, I'll have no problem giving it to Salah if I don't have Mane and I just go for a second defender instead. So that's just a few thoughts on why I went to Salah. Again, I don't think it matters too much which one of them you own. as long as you own one of them. And that's why I don't like the triple defence idea. I do think you need to have either Salah or Mane for the double game week. Given how Liverpool have been going this season, it wouldn't be a shock if they don't keep clean sheets in those two double game week fixtures. So I would have more faith in the likes of Salah and Mane to get goals than I probably would in the defence to get clean sheets. So it's a tricky one. I don't think you can go wrong. I think double defence is fine. I think double attack is fine. You just got to do what you prefer. Don't let yourself get influenced by others. There is other routes. Triple defence will turn out to be the right move. Maybe they'll get 2 clean sheets and Salah and Mane won't do too much damage. Not many people are talking about Firmino. I haven't ruled him out either. He's an easy move from someone like Rashford for the double game week. So, if he shows a bit of form next 2 or 3 games, I'm not ruling that out either. And that's kind of why I like to leave the third Liverpool spot open. And I may leave it open until actually game week 24. I might not get my third Liverpool player until that game week, so I can get all the information and then decide which one is the best option there. So yeah, some slight regrets about selling Mane, but obviously that is heavily influenced by how the last game week went. So hopefully Salah can come good over the next couple of weeks. Moving on to captaincy now for game week 21. Again, I put a poll up with 4 options: Vardy, De Bruyne, Mane and Salah, just because I felt myself those are the 4 best options this week. There was around 7,000 votes cast. Vardy came away with 50% of the vote. He's going to be my captain this week. De Bruyne got 20%, Mane got 15%, and Salah got 14%. I think there's other options as well. Man City are at home to Everton. The likes of De Bruyne, I've mentioned De Bruyne, the likes of Aguero and Sterling. Spurs are away to Southampton. People will be tempted to captain Harry Kane if they still have him. People who have Abraham, I think that's a good fixture for him away to Brighton. But again, I'm not looking past Jamie Vardy this week. He got, game week 20 off, as did most of the Leicester squad. So they should be very fresh for that Newcastle fixture. I think Newcastle have got a couple of defensive issues as well. And, quite simply, FPL this season, when I captain Vardy, I get green arrows. When I don't captain Vardy, I get red arrows. So I'm just going to go back to him. I like the Newcastle fixture. Hopefully he can get a couple of goals in that one and get me back towards the top 100k. I think this week, not one to overthink. There's probably a lot of these captaincy options that are probably at risk of arrest because they played a lot of games over the Christmas period, and Vardy is not one of those players. So I'm just going to stick it on him, and I'm not even going to give it any more thought. Transfers for me this week, I've already mentioned. I want to bank this week. I'm going to try and arrive at game week 24 with 2 free transfers, just in case I decide I want to get Mane in for that one. So I'm going to bank the transfer this week, and I'll probably try and roll one as often as I can then, as I often do anyway. I always like having another week of information and then having 2 free transfers. If I do want to get Mane for double game week 24, I'm going to have to free up cash over the next couple of weeks. So a couple of ways to do so. Ali could become Marcial, Grealish could become Traore. So those are probably two moves I look at for game week 22. So yeah, pretty sure 100% I'm going to bank this week unless something drastic happens between now and tomorrow's deadline. So hopefully you enjoyed this podcast. I wanted to get one out before New Year's Day. Apologies that I didn't get one out over Christmas. Just been very busy over the Christmas period. I've been running around. We've been kind of between 3 houses: my mother's house, her mother's house, and her sister's house as well. So it's been a lot of driving around and living out of a suitcase for the last 2 weeks. So we're travelling back to the UK on Thursday. So looking forward to getting back into routine and back to normal. I'm actually looking forward to a weekend without Premier League action, just to catch breath, take stock, and look forward to the second half of the season. If you have been thinking about signing up to Patreon at any point this season, January is a good time to do so. Don't sign up today, because today is the 31st of December. Patreon charges people on the 1st of each month, so wait until January 1st or January 2nd. Sign up, you'll get a couple of weeks free, and then before the end of January you can just decide whether you want to keep going with it or you can decide to cancel. So patreon.com/FPL General for more information. Any questions you have about my Patreon offering, just send me a DM on Twitter or send me an email, thefplgeneral@gmail.com. Happy New Year, folks. Enjoy these celebrations tonight, whatever you're up to. I think it's going to be a quiet one for me. I hope 2020 is filled with green arrows and you achieve your FPL goals. Good luck in Game Week 21, folks, and I'll be back ahead of Game Week 22 with another episode. Cheerio.